Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Right? Alright, let's talk legends. There's a whole bunch of legends gonna be in this one, right? We're gonna talk Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez coming off his win against Caleb Plant. Some are putting him back at #1 pound for pound. The face of boxing, undisputed. Which, I put those up every time because he'll be undisputed in my eyes when he beats David Benavidez. Because of the way that happened with the WBC just giving him a belt. When he's fighting for the WBA championship against Callum Smith, the WBC just put it in there. So he never had to fight for the WBC. I don't think that's the way you want to get undisputed, because what's happening is you're being considered a legend with the other 5 real undisputed fighters in the 4-belt era. So you don't really want to put one in there when there's a discrepancy there, because undisputed means we ain't got no disputes. You don't just put a belt in there. The WBC was given to him. He didn't have to fight for it. That's a technicality, but damn it, it's very technical in my opinion. Seeing as though Canelo has gotten away with a lot of other things. But we'll keep it moving. Bottom line is, legends have come out against Canelo Alvarez. And I hate to say against, but against. I think we'll start with Teddy Atlas, who is a legendary trainer. Anybody that knows about boxing knows Teddy Atlas. He's a trainer, commentator, gives his opinions all the time. And I think Teddy Atlas, we can agree, he kind of hates corruption in boxing. He's went off on many occasions, but right now he's going off on Canelo Alvarez, saying he does not want to see these type of guys anymore. Now, we're going to do some reading in a minute, but I'm just saying Teddy Atlas is saying he's sick of these type of fighters. Sounds like Doma, now don't it? Right? That's the point. Like, why I don't watch Canelo fights live, because I'm sick of those type of guys as well. When you start knowing things, right? Now, Teddy Atlas, some are going to be saying, well, Teddy's hating. Well, what was your opinion when Teddy Atlas was saying that Manny Pacquiao really beat Jeff Horn? I didn't agree with Teddy Atlas then, because he was ranting about it. And I watched the Jeff Horn versus Pacquiao fight many times. And I got Jeff Horn winning. Pacquiao was beat the hell out of him in round 9. And most people gave Pacquiao a 10-8 round in that round, which is like, why? The guy did not fall down. He stood up the whole time and took that butt whooping and came back around 10-11 and kicked Pacquiao's butt. Jeff Horn won that fight. So what side were you on? Were you agreeing with Teddy Atlas then? Or this is one that you probably liked, when Teddy Atlas just would not acknowledge that Deontay Wilder could have possibly been cheated in the second fight with Tyson Fury. Nothing. Deontay Wilder can't fight, no skills whatsoever, right? Me being a brother, I'm looking at racism. I'm like, Teddy Atlas, I've agreed with him a lot and disagreed with him a lot. I'm looking at racism. But there, I didn't really think it was just racism. My point is, Teddy Atlas is a boxing connoisseur, right? You looking at Deontay Wilder and looking at all them flaws, and you get to hating because he's still knocking people out. He's your heavyweight champion, and you sitting over here training people for years and years to not do some stuff that he's doing, and he's still knocking people out and being successful. You can get your hate on with that, right? Or your jealousy, your envy. That could possibly happen. It's happening to Lamar Jackson in football. What do they talk about Lamar Jackson? Like he can't pass, but then he threw the most touchdowns in a year. Right? He can't come back because he's a running quarterback. He can never come back. He's come back in the last 4 or 5 games. Right? Keep talking about what he couldn't instead of enjoying that this is something very special. They do it to Russell Westbrook in basketball. Every mistake he made, it's a problem. But we're seeing a guard who triple doubles all the damn time, and nobody else is doing those. A guard averaging over 10 rebounds in the last 4 or 5 seasons. We have never seen that in the history of basketball. A guard that they say shoots too much, but he's led assists how many times? A guard that can't shoot, but he's led points. So what are they talking about? And he's on a new team. And this is why those people on TV don't listen to him. Just tune them out. You watch it. Russell Westbrook had the same problems at the beginning of the season with the Washington Wizards. Towards the end of that season, he had all those people, those D-League players over there in Washington Wizards looking real great. And the same thing in Houston. When he went to James Harden at the beginning, it was, rocky beginning, and then all of a sudden, he started having ridiculous numbers. Right? They know this. But the problem with Russell Westbrook is we better talk about what he can't do, because he's making a lot of people look silly with all these damn rebounds and all these triple doubles. Right? So what he can't do, that's what they do. Right? So it's Wilder is what he can't do. When we're sitting there watching people have convulsions on the ground and everybody get knocked out from a guy that's 20 pounds less than he is. That's how that happens. So Teddy Atlas is basically saying that. Now let me go here. Let's do a little reading what Teddy Atlas was talking about real quick. We're gonna have to be. It's gonna be some reading in there real quick, but I'm gonna try to speed it up. Okay, Teddy Atlas says he doesn't want to see any more of the type of opposition that Canelo Alvarez has been routinely fighting for the last 3 years after watching him obliterate the overmatched IBF super middleweight champion Caleb Plant last Saturday night to become the undisputed champion at 168 pounds. Atlas feels that his intelligence has been insulted in watching Canelo fight the champions at 168, which has been represented recently by 4 weak and vulnerable champions. Canelo equal opportunist extraordinaire. Plant was the last of the flawed paper champions that Canelo picked off to accomplish his goal in an opportunistic manner of becoming the first undisputed champion at super middleweight. Teddy says he wants to see Canelo 57-1-2 with 39 KOs stepping up in terms of his opposition by fighting this murderer's row. Artur Beterbiev at 175 pounds, Demetrius Bivol at 175, David Benavidez, that linear champ, at 168, Joe Smith Jr. and Jamal Charlo. Right? It's a glaring omission of Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade is the one he could have fought. He could have been undisputed at 160 pounds, and he would have got $40 million for doing so. I don't know why people keep ignoring Demetrius Andrade, because we know damn well he'll go up to 168 to fight Canelo, because he went from 154 begging Canelo, 160 begging Canelo, and he'll go 168, and we know it. But anyway, let's read a little bit further, and then I'll probably put this in the description box. Surprisingly, Canelo didn't elect to fight any of these fighters independently without being dragged into the fights, kicking and screaming. Unfortunately for Atlas, Canelo likely won't fight any of these guys in his next fights. It's believed he's going to throw a bone to the soon-to-be 40-year-old Gennady Golovkin to make DAZN happy and to please the boxing publics that he's been calling for him to take this fight since the controversial win over the Kazakh in 2018. Atlas wants Canelo to upgrade his opposition. It was a good performance, but you have to remember, he's fighting guys that are flawed. I don't want to see anymore, said Teddy Atlas to The Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm not knocking Plant, and I'm glad that he got $10 million. I'm not knocking Billy Joe Saunders. He fought a really good fight up to that point, and he did get a broken orbital bone. I get it, but these guys weren't going to win the fight because of what I already said, and I don't want to see them, the overmatched opposition that Canelo has been padding his record with. I don't want to see these fighters anymore. And they, Team Canelo, can keep doing that to complete his unbelievable contract he signed with DAZN for $350 million over wherever it is. He, Canelo, cashing these checks for $40 or $50 million, I don't want to see them no more. I don't. I want to see the guys with enough talent to have a chance, in my mind, to say he's got a chance because he has enough talent, enough ability. And if it's 168, I don't want to see these guys unless it's David Benavidez. And listen, Benavidez isn't the most developed guy in the world, but at least he has a talent in one area, power. One area, strength, and one area where I can say, it's okay, I'll go with it. Even if I don't want to see no more, unless it's maybe Charlo, and Charlo is not perfect, not close to it, but at least he's got enough talent to where if it's at a catchweight fight and Canelo drops down and catchweight to fight him, I'll look at it because at least they have some talent to where they'll pull me in. Doesn't that sound like me? Right? That's all I'm saying. The rest of the article will be in the description box. Teddy Atlas got enough of it, right? Got enough of it. Man, Canelo, the Canelo fans, I heard somebody on one of my favorite uploaders today, somebody called in and, he was saying Canelo's getting, he's getting the bags, right? But yeah, he's getting the bag and the guys are all okay with Canelo making a lot of money. But you're not. We're talking sport here. It's not about the money right now. It's about the sport. If we're going to say Canelo's going to be one of the best of all time, then there's too many people right around right now that I think Demetrius Andrade is one of the best of all time. I think so. He just won't get the opportunity. They know he's one of the best of all time, but they won't give him the opportunity. Canelo knows that. That's why he won't get the opportunity. The whole boxing community knows that. That's why they don't say nothing. The media knows that. That's why. DAZN knows that, but they can't force Canelo to fight him. Canelo keeps saying, we both signed here. I don't give a damn. I ain't fighting Demetrius Andrade. Why is that? And who is Demetrius Andrade? Well, who the hell is Yildirim? Who the hell is Callum Smith? Who the hell is Amir Khan? You know what I'm saying? Who the hell is a whole bunch of them? You know what I'm saying? Ain't no fighter that he's fought that's better than Demetrius Andrade. Not one, to me. Not even Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is smaller. Demetrius Andrade is 6'1". Floyd's about 5'7" or 8", right? So Demetrius Andrade will be his best, like I told you about all Negro League fighters. When they walk out, the announcer will say, the commentator will say, this could possibly be Canelo's hardest fight of all time, right? And then somebody gonna interrupt and say, nope, it is. And that's what will be Demetrius Andrade. So he should be in there too. Those are people he should fight. Now, let's go to another legend in Juan Manuel Marquez, right? Juan Manuel Marquez is somebody who I know got an attitude anyway, because he's like, wait a minute, why is Manny Pacquiao on number 2 on the all-time great list that came out about a month ago? I know Marquez like, wait a minute, dude, we had 4 fights. And I was never face first planted on the ground. And all those other, so I knocked him out cold in the 4th fight. And those other 3, all of them were up for grabs. So there's no separation. So if he's number 2, I should be number 4 at least. I know he got an attitude, and he's going in on Canelo. And what Manuel Marquez says, as a legendary Mexican fighter, is this: Canelo will never be the best Mexican fighter. That's his point. And here's his reasoning. Check this one out. After becoming undisputed super middleweight champion, some are hailing Canelo Alvarez as one of the greatest Mexican champions ever. However, it can be safely said that former world champion Juan Manuel Marquez isn't a member of the Canelo fan club. Marquez says Canelo will never be the best boxer in Mexican history unless he faces his opponents on an equal footing as the other Mexican greats did. There are many fighters, this is his quote, there are many fighters who won the world championships, as I did, and as several did, fighting against the best without putting in rehydration clauses to the opponents, without depleting them and saying, you have to do this, he told the Playmaker, I never heard of that, the Playmaker, in a long interview. Economically, it is very good, but as I already mentioned, for example, rehydration clauses where if you regain so many pounds, you will have a fine. I think that is not fair to the other fighter. You have to do it, all things being equal. Is he asking for too much? Because Canelo had a lot of rehydration clauses for the other guy, not himself, the other guy. He was able to do that. Then he had his own weight division. I told you back then, I was ranting about it. We got 154, which is junior middleweight, and we have 160, which is middleweight. Damn it, that's only 6 pounds, not kilos, pounds. And so Canelo couldn't make one of the weights, so he had 155. He was able to fight at 155 pounds, bringing people up, right? The only one he brought down, way down, was Chavez Jr. That's the only one. Other than that, Chavez Jr. looked like a damn mummy, a zombie up in there, because it was weight drained. So at the end of the day, these people are complaining. And this is not all the other stuff that Canelo has going for him, right? What the WBC was able to do. You know, you got a mandatory in Charlo, and the WBC makes up a new belt, which has confused the whole boxing community, right? Because it was just, all he had to do was fight Charlo when he was his mandatory, instead of asking for a belt. He asked for it too, and WBC obliged him. Then Lomachenko asked for it too, so not fighting Devin Haney, and they obliged him as well. But we ain't talking about Lomachenko. But at the end of the day, guys, you got legends that are not having it. So I don't know, if you're gonna be calling everybody haters. So get your haters stickers ready, because it's gonna be a lot of people that are not going with the shenanigans that are going on with Canelo. Canelo is a great fighter, but there's no way that we're going to be calling him one of the greatest of all time. And you got a Demetrius Andrade who's undisputed right there, undefeated. And you could have had an undisputed fight with him. And he's been calling you out in every weight division you've been in, right? The greats don't have that, right? I'm not going to mention the names, but they don't. They don't have somebody who was undefeated in their weight division the whole time and didn't fight him. Oops. I can give you one, just to be fair. My favorite fighter of all time is Roy Jones Jr. Now, I think it was super middleweight or light heavyweight, one of them. Super middleweight, if I'm not mistaken. There was a Polish guy, chess homeboy, Polish guy named Dariusz Mistrzowski, who was undefeated for a long time, but he was in Europe. And Roy never fought him, which he should have, and it would have been a mega fight too. Other than that, I can't think of none. Most legends don't have nobody undefeated and screaming their name. Now, that's the difference. Dariusz Mistrzowski wasn't screaming no Roy Jones' name, but he was there. I know that. I lived through that, right? I was hoping they fought at the time. But Demetrius Andrade had screamed Canelo's name, called other name. Charlo and them got a little bit more respect for him, but I'm your mandatory. which means I'm ready to fight. Aren't you? You know, most mandatories are ready to fight if they ain't Mexican mandatories, right? I know Mexicans. What you mean Mexican mandatories? Yeah, well, Jaime Munguia is fighting Rosado this weekend. He could have fought Demetrius Andrade. He's his mandatory. He won't do it, right? Ryan Garcia could have fought Devin Haney. He was his mandatory. Didn't want to do it. Jojo Diaz was Devin Haney's mandatory. Didn't want to fight him. He signed to fight Ryan Garcia instead. But now he's forced to fight Devin Haney. So those are mandatories that, don't want to, do it. And one other one, since we're talking about Canelo, Canelo was Demetrius Andrade's mandatory at 154 pounds. And the champion was calling him all his names and begging him to fight, and he didn't have to do it. So those are the things. We don't have no mandatories that don't want to fight, unless they're these cats. So let's see what people got to say about this. I thought that was very interesting. It's a little Canelo bashing, but it's not really bashing. No one has told a lie on Canelo. These are all truths. So we have to do something about it and force him to fight the best fighters if we're going to crown him the very best. If we just say he's a good fighter, then he can do what the hell he want to. But once you start calling people the very best, they're going to be judged as such. How many times have I said that? Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And we up out of here, y'all.